Okay, this is Rashonda Thornton. For those who are not familiar with me or know my name, I'm the host of this particular podcast called The Dietitian Against Diets. And I really want to take a moment to just give you a little insight of why I created this podcast, what it represents, and what's its purpose, and kind of what all the good things that has been happening over the short period of time that has actually been out. Before I go into that too deep, I want to introduce to one of my major podcast partners who has really been the backbone of keeping this podcast going. They are called Undeniably Dairy, the Midwest Dairy Council. They have been very supportive in this podcast show, and I am very supportive of just the nutrition that they represent, just the stories and the hard work behind their farmers and their whole council, just their goal to better inform everyone and to also to make sure that we know what we're putting in our bodies and recognize the health benefits of it. If you want to learn more about Undeniably Dairy or even know what it means, go to their website at dairygood.com and you will see some of the farmer stories. You will see some of their sustainability practices they have incorporated. You will see all their process and how they're trying to make change in regards to making sure that they are conserving all of their resources, but still not compromising their nutrition for us as consumers and the care that they're giving for their animals. Also find them on Instagram. They're on there as well at Dairy Good. I'm sorry, not Dairy Good, Midwest Dairy on Instagram. So look them up, learn more about them, and it'll help you better be informed as a consumer. So the question is, if someone asks me like, what's the reason for you doing the podcast show? And I know there are millions of podcast shows out there, but I particularly chose to do this podcast show because I know that as people, we have been taught and we have been trained to look at food a certain way. We look at food as a calculation. We look at food as a reward. We look at food as something that's horrible to us. We have such a muddy relationship with food. And to me, it's so fascinating that we have a muddy relationship with something that's going to be with us for our entire life. One thing about other things that we struggle with in life, whether it's, you have addictions and other things, you can live without those addictions. But when it comes to food, you have to eat. So if you have to eat, it's going to be a part of you with your whole entire life. Let's start really creating a relationship with food that represents us. And so as a dietitian, I understand the difference in how society sees food and how I see the nutrition component of it. And that's how I'm able to live my life. So how can I kind of open that up and have those conversations that can help you throughout your time in your life where you have been struggling with how you feel in your own skin. You're struggling with, figuring out which direction to go when it comes to, being healthy or losing weight, or, you see images or you see people that are doing other things and you feel you have to live up to them. And that's not how we are supposed to live. We all have different body styles. We all have different ways that different resources that our body needs. So we can't follow a plan. We can't follow a system. We can't follow someone that tell us what to eat. That doesn't work, because if that did work, guess what? You wouldn't be having this. You wouldn't be listening to me on this podcast show. You wouldn't be struggling every single time that you get frustrated because your weight, your clothes size goes up, or you get on the scale and like it creates a negative day. You wouldn't be struggling with that if it was just that simple. So the podcast show has really opened up these conversations where I'm bringing on guests from St. Louis, obviously, but I'm able to extend our arm out and bring guests from other parts of the country. And it's great that we're having a variety of guests, but these guests all come with something valuable. They all come with information, perspectives, insights on, why they feel health and wellness is so important to them, and why they package it up and use it for the betterment of others. And these conversations are something that just gives you a different way of thinking, a different way of living. It just changes your perspective. So the point of the podcast show is really just to open your eyes and give you another view, give you another direction. And again, there are going to be some conversations that have been had that it makes you think twice. It not only makes you think twice, it makes you actually reconsider another way. It gotta be a way that we can start making change with our health and our body. And honestly, diets don't work. Point blank. And that's why I coined myself as the dietitian against diets. How can we stop looking and having a diet mentality and actually start to build a relationship with food, or we see food as our partner? We see food as our lifeline. And so because of that, we start bringing in foods that helps to build our body, to help our body to thrive, to help us to be happy emotionally, and not feel subjected to, we have to be relegated to what's good and what's bad. It's all about the mindset shift. And so my encouragement for you is to start thinking differently so that you can start having a new relationship with food. That's a relationship that's built off love. That's off love for yourself. Because what you'll find is, and I say it all the time, that what we eat, how we feel about certain foods, it's just a reflection of how we feel and think about ourselves. So if you think of yourself as something or someone that deserves the best, why not put the best in your body? It's so simple to me. Many times when we choose to have something that we call bad or horrible for us, we somehow eat it and then we feel that same exact way. So what we're doing, we just go into this negative cycle, we're in this negative cycle. How can we break the cycle and start thinking differently, start interacting with food differently, and start loving ourselves as a byproduct of that? And when you do, I promise you, when you start shifting your reasons behind why you're choosing to eat certain foods or choosing not to, you will find there's more love out of this. You find that it's more self-care that you're providing. And when you start just living into that self-care and self-love, you become detached from certain, struggles that you have with certain foods. You become detached from feeling like you have to have certain foods to make you happy. They have too much power. Release that power from those foods and start living a life of liberation. And when you start living that life of liberation, the byproduct is the way to shed. The way to not just shed, it was shed off forever. And no, that sounds foreign because most people, they'll lose it, they'll gain it, they'll lose it, they'll gain it. Like you're doing like a little tango dance with it. I promise you, when you start changing your relationship with food and start bringing in foods that show self-care and self-love and just keep that as a part of who you are, your body will follow in tow. It will become more healthier. Your body weight will be the healthy body weight that you're supposed to be in. And you won't feel so tied down or feel like you're walking on ice to maintain that. It's a great feeling. And because it's such a great feeling, I want to extend that feeling out to you. So this podcast is just another platform that allowed me to do just that. So if you haven't heard the last 23 guests, please take a moment and go to my website at RashondaThornton.com. And all of my different podcast shows are there. You can also go to my YouTube channel at Rashonda A Better Vessel. And I'm on all the audio podcast platforms. Just look for the Dietitian Against Diets. There are Play to Win series on there. There's individual conversations with other special guests. And also my weekly wellness coalition panel that I have been doing over the last month and a half. So you got several different resources. There are no excuses. We have plenty of time right now. And if you do find one that resonates with you, pay it forward, share it. Send it to someone that you may not have the words to give to them to help them to start thinking differently, but perhaps this podcast does. So take advantage of it, share it to others, and I hope that it will find you well and it'll start changing your perspective, your mindset, and your relationship with food. Again, I only do this because I care and I love you guys and I want the best for you. And guess what? You should want the best for yourself. So again, this is Rashonda Thornton, the Dietitian Against Diets. Stay well and see you guys next time.